Good morning, Oracles. Well, the big day is upon us. How is the market going to react to the production and delivery numbers out of Tesla? So far, pre-market, we are down 1%. Sounds like over in the Canadian markets, they were up 1.5% on most of the day and then sold off going into close. Normally that doesn't bode well for the next day when it's here in the US markets. My thought was maybe they were selling off so that people could buy in this morning, because a lot of times these people are playing in all the markets around the world. That's potential, not sure. When I first looked, Tesla was actually up 0.5%, and then the whole entire market started to pull back and went into the red, and Tesla just followed suit. So at least as of right now, pre-market, it seems like Tesla is just following the macro still. Does not seem like these numbers that came out of production and deliveries are swinging the stock massively in one way or the other. And now one of the leading indicators that we have had recently has been crypto. And over the weekend, it was moving up quite nicely over the weekend. Bitcoin crossed over 20,000 again. So when I started recording this though, it was starting to plummet. Now I have seen in the past where the cryptocurrency plummets, bounces, and comes right back up again. Again, it moves very quickly. Don't know if that's what's going to happen, but as of the time of this recording, everything seemed to be pulling back. And now another thing that I had noticed was a lot of times when it comes to the mainstream media, there's a lot of stuff that we find out on Twitter from, likes of Troy Teslike, Gary Black, and now our very own aTeslaBot, who, do a lot of this due diligence and research ahead of time, and it doesn't hit mainstream media for another day or so. So sometimes we see this information and the market will trade off of it later because we know it so early because of the due diligence that many of our own personal analysts do here on Twitter. And so Gary Black was talking about how Tesla delivered 157,000 vehicles in June, which obviously that is a record high. And then they talked about record high production. And Troy Teslike was talking about how the production was 118,000 vehicles. Now, there's a huge discrepancy there, but we also know that there were a lot of deliveries from production that were made in May that didn't end up getting delivered until June. They were stuck on ships going overseas, lots of different things that were going on. And then, Tesla was able to deliver the pre-production vehicles out of Berlin, so that definitely brought up deliveries a bit for the month. So looking at those numbers for deliveries, don't think that's going to be sustainable just because of the way it rotates. So even if it pulls down to 140,000, that's about 1.68 million vehicles annualized. Now again, we talk about production being the most important numbers. So looking at 118,000 vehicles produced in June leaves them at a 1.416 annualized run rate, which is still outstanding. And now we know that we're going to have a little bit of downtime for Shanghai in July, August, and September, and then 2 weeks of downtime again for Berlin. These are to be able to push up their run rate even higher. So now, again, our very own Troy Teslike, aTeslaBot, over on Twitter, very comparable numbers to Troy. So we're going to have him as our own. So we'll be looking at him for some production and delivery numbers. So awesome job. Keep it up. Looks like forecast currently right now for Q3 deliveries is 371,520. And production is going to be 373,061. And now when it comes to Q4, looks like numbers are going to be 456,000 deliveries and 450,070 production. So again, I know these numbers get tweaked regularly. So weekly, usually Troy does it. And Kyrev, as he's known here in our comments, probably updating weekly also. Let me know for sure how you're going to be doing that. But if you guys aren't following him over on Twitter, definitely jump on over there. So I think it's also always great to have more than one source of this type of information. Troy has always been excellent. Troy's information comes out on Patreon and then he releases it a week later over on Twitter. So again, great to have two numbers to compare to who are both very accurate. So when you're looking at multiple numbers and trying to figure it out based on your own production and delivery forecasts, it's great numbers to go off of. Because for me currently, I'm waiting for Shanghai to come out before I officially put my numbers out. But right now I have 380,000 for Q3 for production and 475,000 for Q4 for production. And so when it comes to the stocks movement, again, I track it personally on a daily basis because it keeps me active, and I don't like it. I like to long-term invest. It's the way I do things. It's the way I'm built for my emotions. But I still like to follow the daily movements of the stock because it keeps me active. And that's how I learn too. By following it every single day, I can learn patterns in the market and learn patterns in the company itself and just the sentiment behind the market. So that's why I follow it every day. But I am a long-term investor. So looking at the daily movements and what we're going to be looking at for the stock for the week, again, we might see the same thing we saw in Canada. Maybe we are red pre-market now, might see some green as the market opens, and then maybe a sell-off into the end of the day. So we really don't have a lot of news going on until next week. Next week we're going to get the CPI data on June 13th. So that there is going to help give us an indication as to how June went. We know that gas prices were higher in June, so that could be offsetting inflation still. But we're waiting for these inflation numbers to come down for the Fed to get the signal of, okay, it's time to lower rates or not raise them as fast. Because coming to the end of this month, we're going to have earnings on July 20th, which is good because the FOMC meeting is going to be on the 24th and 25th, which means that, we have almost a week in between so we can get earnings, digest that information, and then we can get our FOMC meeting and our next rate hike. As of right now, the rate hike is looking at about 50 basis points. There is a question on the table of 75, but again, I think the CPI data that we get is going to help determine which direction we go. Another piece of information we're going to get around that same time is the GDP data. So now the GDP data is also important because we already have one quarter of negative GDP growth. If we get a second one, we will technically be in a recession. If we are in a recession, the Fed might decide, hey, you know what, it's time to put the brakes on raising rates because we are in a recession. Now the stagflation questions come up of, well, if we're in a recession and have high inflation at the same time, how does the Fed battle that? Well, again, if the oil prices are going to be coming down, that could in turn, make them decide, hey, yes, the recession is okay because inflation is coming down, so we can loosen up the rates because inflation is moving down. Lots of decisions the Fed needs to make. Thank God I don't have to. But these are the different questions that they're going to be asking as we get closer to that time. Then we've got August 4th. We are going to be having the annual meeting. This is where we're all voting on the split. I've already done my voting, so we're going to be able to vote on it there. And then we'll probably get the announcement. I don't know if they're going to announce it at the earnings call when they plan on doing the split, or if they're going to wait for us to actually have the vote before announcing the date. Either way, in the next month, we'll be finding out the date of the split. My guess is still that it's going to be end of August, early September, right before the next buying window opens up for all of their employees, because they do have a lot of new employees that have come on board between Austin and Berlin and the expansion in Shanghai. So a lot of new employees are going to want to take advantage of these prices as they come down after the split. And then for Tesla specific, we are going to have AI Day 2 coming on September 30th. This is where we're going to see the prototype for Optimus to see what's actually capable of. And then we're going to see some other things. Maybe they're going to mention Dojo in there. Maybe they're going to unveil, FSD 11.0. Elon did say that there's a few other things that they're going to discuss. And just remember that when we're going into AI Day 2, it's a recruiting event. It is designed to be around showing off the engineering prowess that Tesla has to try and, entice other engineers to come and work for them. As of right now, we still see that SpaceX and Tesla are the number 1 and number 2 places that new engineers coming out of college want to go work for. So this is just Tesla's way of continuing that pattern and that path, getting the best of the best when it comes to talent. So we've got a lot of exciting things going on in the future. Unfortunately, I think Tesla is still just going to be following and trading along with the macro environment, at least in the near term, probably for the next 6 months or so. We will just be following the macro. It's not going to be until the Fed stops raising rates that Tesla will finally be able to run on its own. That's usually how growth stocks work. Value stocks will trade usually along with the macro environment, but when it comes to growth stocks, those are the ones that can run away. Tesla is still considered a growth stock because it has 50% year-over-year growth trajectory going on. So once we get to a point where growth stocks can flourish again in a bull market, that's when Tesla is really going to take off to the moon. So that's why paying attention to the fundamentals and the system that Tesla is building up right now is so important, because when we do get to that point where it can run, it's really going to run. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think we are going to be green at the end of the day today, or do you think that we are going to be red? Again, for me, I just follow the near-term movements because it's fun to watch, but honestly, it's so hard to predict. It's like a coin flip to me. I think we're going to finish the day green, but that's why I'm wearing the shirt. But again, that's just my guess. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below as to where we're going to finish at the end of today. And I was finally able to get the live stream up and running. It's been a long time coming. Thanks to the help of Vinny over at Investment Club for working with me and getting me set up on that. So live streams are now up, so I will be doing them once a week, or at least that's my plan right now. Probably a Friday evening I will do live streams. Not sure, it all depends on what time I get home from work, but I'll try to set it up ahead of time and get as consistent as I can for you guys so you'll know when to expect it. So yes, I'm looking forward to doing that because it's awesome. I love being able to interact with you guys on the fly instantly. So talking with you guys in the comments is awesome, but being able to do it live, that's really exciting. So really looking forward to these live streams. So Friday evenings, as of right now, should be when I'm going to be able to do these. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, I am over on Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.